Amazing transformations, and I'm so excited to be here. As you know, this is one of my absolute favorite guests that has blessed us with a second appearance here with Veganowlrdge JJ on Amazing Transformations. And um, Jason just has so many things that he does. Um, I just wanted to. Felt like I wasn't on the screen here.
Now I
Let me
put you on there.
and then, as you guys know, too, the people that follow me on the Vegan Knowledge group, the awesome thing about it, I'm going to turn my phone down too, is I have been all of a sudden, it's like he read my mind. All I've been talking about is sauerkraut, and that I started reading about gut health and all this stuff, and then you came on with this beautiful presentation teaching us about this. And you got, I know we'll talk later, but you have a class coming up. But just in case anyone wasn't here last time and want to know who Jason is, Jason has studied cooking for over 35 years across 16 countries. He continuously searches for evidence based ways to optimize physical, emotional, and mental health. In addition to nutrition, Jason is a meditation and yoga teacher. He shares amazing photos of food that makes me hungry all the time. That's not in the bio, I added that. And then his Instagram, his YouTube, and the link also to all of his social media and his new class, I believe, that you sent me just recently is going to be posted, and we'll have everything there for you so you can also connect with Jason. And without further ado, let's talk about, he's going to talk to us today about eating our way to longevity with fiber and gut health. I forgot the other word.
Flavor.
Flavor. How could I forget flavor? Okay, thank you. That's why he's the expert. Welcome, Jason. Thank you so much.
No, thanks so much for having me again. I had so much fun last time, and now I have this fancy presentation I put together, which I just gave at the New Life Expo, and sadly, plant-based friendly place. The trend in like the biohacker world is very very like meat based, but I think I influenced a few people with this talk, but your audience is going to be a lot more fun. That's for sure. Oh, I can't hear you. Are you muted?
I sure was.
Oh,
It is very difficult. Most of the people we're going to be talking to in life in general, because, with the exception of on like vegan YouTube and Facebook and, our own group of people, are people who don't know anything about this. Just like at some point we probably both were, and the way that it's introduced is so important. I love your approach to bring them into, letting them know what actually it does for the body. And like people that need to feel good, will see that, and hopefully at some point, we, like I was saying to someone earlier, it wasn't an ethical thing for me at first. It was more or less just to lose weight and get better health, and then it all kind of connected later on. So, however that journey has to happen, I think it's amazing what you're doing, and what all of the people, do here on YouTube, is to put the knowledge out there. And
yeah.
you are one of the most talented chefs here that I've ever had on. So thank you.
No, my pleasure. It's like I'm going to talk about this as we go on, but yeah, I just want to present like every single like thing that we hear all the time from people, like what about the protein and everything, and I just give people the evidence, let them make their own decision. But I think the evidence is so strong, it's like a no-brainer. So that's why I just want to keep getting better and better science. And the beautiful thing is, now that the science is getting better, it just keeps more and more pointing to the whole food plant-based, as opposed to what's been really popular the last 10 years, like the keto and the paleo and the carnivore.
That one drives me crazy of all of them, I think. And the one thing that you do that I love is you teach people how to prepare the food, not only just here, if you can't live near me, you can't have the food that I'm eating. It's so good. You actually are a teacher, that educates them on how to do this for themselves, which is like multiplying, the health benefits for so many people. I love that.
Well, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you could have all the knowledge, but if you're not putting it in your belly, it's not working for you. And it's not hard, and it's actually fun and delicious. Like cooking, shopping, the whole thing should be like a flow state. It should be relaxing and enjoyable as you create this food, and then none of that. And I mean, I make food for people all the time. Everywhere I go, I always show up with food. People just expect it from me now. And I get to see their face when they eat it. And I also get to tell them, guess what? There's no butter in there. There's no fish in there. That's just plants. And this is gonna get you healthy. And they're just like, wow.
Like, no way. I bet you get that a lot. Like, there's no way this doesn't have any butter and meat in it sometimes, or other forms of or what, not nutrients, but ingredients that they would normally use. And that, like, I think everything in our life has to have a process, or we put it off, or we won't do it, or we'll think it's a good idea, like you said. But if we can't put it into action, then it's really not going to work out. So that's so important that you break it down and simplify it for them in a way that they can create. And then they can always get more creative, too, with their own twists on it. I imagine you've had people probably give you that input, like they come back to you and always tell you, like, look what I did. I
Mm-hmm.
made your dish, right? That was awesome.
Yeah, you just got to get the building blocks first, and then we just don't learn how to cook anymore. It used to be people learn that from their grandmothers, and that's what I did. I traveled the world, and I learned from my grandmothers, from the grandmothers around the world. Not so much my own grandmothers, but actually my father was a really good cook, so I learned a lot from him since I was very little, and I traveled with all over New York, going to different restaurants, and we try to make foods that nobody else was like making back then. And but yeah, so just being in the kitchen is, for some people, it's almost like traumatic to be in the kitchen. So I want everybody to know, like, it doesn't take much. Like, if you're a complete beginner, that's even better. I can help you just learn all that, all the basic skills, how to roast, how to make dressings, how to ferment. And then once you do that, once you learn the technique, yeah, you can combine it, and you're able to hit all the categories. I hear these people all the time, like, oh, I went vegan, it didn't work for me. And I'm always skeptical, like, if they're just making that up. Maybe they did it for like a day or two. But
Right.
to get all the basic food groups, like to make sure you're getting the beans and and the the omega-3s. I think a lot of people have a hard time with the omega-3s if they just go vegan without any education. They might not
Hmm.
know that you should have, like, flax seeds or hemp seeds, and and also to have a lot of greens and stuff. So just saying, I'll talk about this too. Just going vegan is not. I mean, vegan is not the same thing. So so
That's
I'm
good.
advocating the
That's
whole
a
food
great
plant.
point.
Yeah,
I'll say I've tried both, and definitely one is much healthier.
exactly.
And I know we're gonna I'll link your other interview with me where we really went in the depth of how you began being vegan. Would you want to just give like a quick overview for anyone watching? Like, you said that you traveled with your father, and I know that helped you to be so creative, too, with your flavors, I bet.
Yeah. Oh, how I went plant based?
Plant-based,
Like,
yes.
yeah. I mean, I learned to cook first, and then when I got a little bit older, I started. I understood there was a connection between health and food, but then it started. You get a little bit older and you want to get healthier. I was in my 20s, and I started off with like Ayurveda diet, which does involve a lot of dairy. So I was vegetarian for a little while, doing that, enjoying it, enjoying the process, but not really. I had really bad gut issues since I was very young, like really, really painful gut issues. Like, and then the Ayurveda didn't really work. So then I was at a convention and someone told me about like the paleo diet. This is like in 2011. It was like all the craze, basically eating meat and like green vegetables and like no fruits. And I did that for a little while. Like I did it for like a year, like raw eggs and stuff. And you see some improvements in health. Like I didn't enjoy the diet at all. But again, my gut issues never really got better. And then I went on to the keto diet. And I did that for a while. And then I read Dr. Gundry's book about the plant paradox, how all these lectins, which I'm going to talk about for you, the lectins, they fight cancer. But at the time, this book got popular. So I'm thinking, okay, the reason I have gut issues is there's got to be something in the plants. There's got to be something in the plants. So I just keep eliminating and eliminating more plants. I'm peeling off the skins of like cucumbers and everything. He tells you all that stuff is bad for you. And then finally, I met Dr. Shenhan Liu, and she's a detox MD. She specializes in detox. And I was really vibing with what she was saying about detoxing. And when she told me to eat whole food plant-based, I thought she was crazy. I'm like, no way. There's all these problems with the plant. You don't get enough protein, and you don't get this, and soy is bad for you. And then she challenged me to like do some research and to do it for like 14 days. And I did. And after that, I felt, but for the first time, my gut felt better. And I said, wow, this is crazy.
Wow.
And I started going into the research. My eyes just got opened and I started just going deeper and deeper. Fiber Fueled. I was reading the book Fiber Fueled and Dr. Greger, and then never went back. I thought like I used to be so addicted to cheese. I thought I would never give up cheese, and now I'm repulsed by cheese. Like the thought of it is so repulsive to me. But I make my own like plant-based tofu cheese. It's amazing.
Oh, that sounds good. That is funny because I know those things are all questions we all have in our mind, and I love that you've had those questions, and you've done all the research and everything to kind of disprove a lot of those myths that people throw out. And I think sometimes it's like easier to sell an idea that's going to continue allowing us to do those things we don't want. Like, like if you're trying to stop drinking alcohol, but you see one little, article that says red wine is good, you focus in on that. So, I love that what you've done is also you share what to get out of the diet, not only that, but how to bring in more beautiful fruits and vegetables that are giving us those things that you mentioned, those good gut bacteria and all the good things that we can do for our body to prevent disease. And it's really important, like you said, to be able to incorporate those. And that's one of the things that not only the education, but you can tell people what they should include. And like, it's amazing how much different information. I'm so glad you found is it Dr. Liu, right?
Yeah, Dr. Shenhan Liu. I can introduce you to her.
Interview her. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd love her.
I would love to have her on too. That's awesome. Where our favorite guest came from, right? Where knowledge originated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And I know you've put so much work into this presentation for us today. We really appreciate it. And whenever you're ready, I guess we can go ahead and get started. I know before I like talk about everything that you're already going to cover, right?
No, it's good. No, exactly. I'm just excited to share because like one of the things you mentioned, you're going to see I mentioned too, is just like people like it's funny, like people, when you tell them about whole food plant-based, the first thing that goes in their mind is like, oh, you're taking away my favorite foods. But why are they your favorite foods, you know? And there is addictive, there's addictions to things. There's like a dopamine thing, which I'm going to talk about. But that's why it's important to really give it like 14 days to really let your taste buds reset, to let your hormones and neurotransmitters reset. And that's a good enough time. If you sincerely follow the whole food plant-based diet for like 14 days, you will see some type of benefit. So that's
awesome.
why. Can you see the screen I'm sharing?
Yeah. No, let me get it on here for you. I think I had to push a button. Now we see it.
Okay, so we're good to go on this?
Yes, and welcome everyone who's watching. Thank you so much. And we'll have, if you have a question, put it in there, and I'll find a good spot to cut in and ask Jason.
Yeah, please cut in so it's not just me just giving this long presentation. I love the questions and comments and everything. So yeah, so I just kind of told my story a little bit. There's me with my plant-based dose of pizza. Been cooking for 35 years. And like I said, I started for 12 years. I did the low carb, keto, paleo diets. And I really, truly believe that you needed to eat animal products for optimal health. So I never liked killing animals. I never really did. But I was under this belief, like, if we don't do it, we're not going to be at our best. And we're going to be sick, and what's the point of that? So I really thought you needed to do that. And of course, like, this whole idea of being strong and masculine is connected to eating animal products. And then I met Dr. Lou. I tried to debunk the whole food plant-based diet, and I couldn't. And then I never went back. So this is someone who I worked with. He lost 70 pounds just switching to whole food plant-based diet, doing the gut reset with me. And he loves his food. He loves his life now. He's saving time and money. And cooking is, again, it's supposed to be a flow state. Put on some music, put on a podcast, and just relax. You know, I can show you how to do the basics to cooking. And then once you do it a few times, it's going to be automatic. And then you just, as you're chopping the vegetables, as you're, it's fun, and I love like experiments. Like, so I soak things overnight, and then you get to wake up the next day and see things, changing. Or if you're doing fermentation, you get to see like a week, like how this thing transforms. This cabbage transforms into sauerkraut. It's amazing.
I love that, and I think that's, like you said, it can be this very therapeutic time. Like, I love preparing my food, but most of my life before this, it was always something I had to rush and get done or have something, processed. And now it's kind of like I take that time to listen to health information that reinforces all the good stuff that's in it. So I love that.
Exactly. And another thing, as we're all busy, including me, one of the tricks is to batch cook. So you can cook a bigger amount of potatoes or beans or sauerkraut or dressing. So you don't have to make it every time you're eating. That would take so much extra time.
Right. And you have that, and you'll be able to show people how to do that too.
Absolutely. Because I do it myself. Like, I just, the best thing to teach is what you do yourself. So I had a problem. I was going plant-based. I needed to figure out, I wanted to make the healthiest, like, cover all the bases of nutrients based on all the stuff I was reading, and also make it so I save some time. And yeah, and that's what I came up with, and that's what I'm sharing.
That is amazing.
So this is just a little technical thing. I call it the blind spot of science. So science is made up of two processes: deductive reasoning and inductive. So basically what it means is, when you see these scientific papers come out, like, they're doing like deductive reasoning, like they're doing an experiment, they're keeping a control, and they're measuring the data. So this is good. Like, deductive reasoning is good to show to gather certain data. And then inductive is when you take data and you put it together and come to a conclusion. So this is really how we're in the mess we're in, because big marketing companies, corporations, especially like these influencers who are into paleo and meat, they're able to they look at a study and they draw a conclusion. Like, for example, they'll say like, okay, when you eat fruit, your blood sugar increases, and they oversimplify that and say, oh, blood sugar going up, this is bad for you. So then they say, don't eat fruit, eat just meat, don't eat carbs.
Right. They don't tell you the whole story.
They don't tell you the whole story, and unfortunately, it's like the Wild West right now. People could post people are getting their information from Facebook and and Instagram, and everything I listen to, there's just so much bad information. And so that's just something I just wanted to throw in, that how it's how research is not like, oh, science proves this. So then there's something called the preponderance of evidence. So what I'm about to present to you is all of this evidence which points to plants being the ideal food for us, not just to mention the animals and also the planet, but when you see, nature is very intelligent, is elegant. So when everything is pointing in the right direction, in the same direction, you can test it out, you can try it, and you can see that it's the truth. As opposed, like, you're gonna see that so much points in that direction. So you can, it's like, for example, like certain animals, they eat a certain diet, and if they don't eat that diet, they'll get sick. So humans, we're a little bit more flexible because of our microbiome. But when you look at all the evidence, as far as health goes, as you know, everything is pointing to plants as being, like longevity studies, like the really big, good quality studies. So it's like you have like 95% of the studies showing the benefits of plants, how damaging animal products are. But yet the people take those 5% of studies that might say something about meat and then just focus on that. They're not looking at the big picture, the big evidence.
I think too, to jump in on something I was thinking while you were saying that, like everything has, I think, like a natural law to it, or
Yes.
that makes complete sense. So, like if you look at this particular type of flower, it grows a certain way. It needs sunlight. It needs this to grow. It pollinates this way. Whatever the case is, anything you look at, whether it's a even things we have in our possession, like a car or a computer, they all have a way that they work. And then especially in nature, everything has its own way, right? And then but for some reason, even animals, this one eats this, you would look up what an animal eats and know. But for some reason, when it comes to the human diet, there's like all these people create those gray areas where they never can quite get there, and a lot of it's programming, how we were raised. But if you really erase all of that and look at the facts about, we're no different than anything else in this world. We have a certain way we're designed to eat too, and with all these evidence, it's logical to me, how we're supposed to eat.
Yeah, like, when I was doing the paleo diet, and you look at these biohackers on those paleo diet, they're afraid of plants. They're eating a ton of meat, but they're not just like eating raw meat. They're seasoning it with plants, and they're taking tons and tons of supplements. Like, I take some supplements. There are reasons for that, but their idea is like, don't eat fruit, but then take this powder which has like 20 different types of fruits in it, but minus
Right.
sugar. Like, so like it just seems like, it's just like it's just really overcomplicated. Whereas honestly, like, I mean, yeah, I know what it's like. I can empathize, sympathize with these people, because I was misled for 12 years myself. So I know what it's like to be down that. And I would hear people promoting vegan or Game Changers. Everyone's like, watch Game Changers. Like, oh, I don't need to watch Game Changers. I already know, you know?
Yeah.
And then once my mind opened up, I watched Game Changers. I'm like, wow, I wish I watched this earlier, you know?
It would have been a game changer.
Yes, exactly. So veganism, you know, people often say, you know, veganism, like, oh, you're a vegan. And yes, by default, I am a vegan, but I really like to make the distinction between whole food, plant-based, and vegan, because veganism is an ethical philosophy, meaning to cause as little harm to living beings as possible. But vegan food can still be very unhealthy. You know, donuts and French fries are vegan. So, but if you're doing a true whole food, plant-based diet, you also are doing vegan. And like you said, I love animals. But eating meat for so long, you have to kind of play this mental gymnastics and justify it. So at first, it really was about the health. Like I said on a different show, like I came for my health and I stayed for the animals. So it's like, not only do I
get to the same path I had.
Yeah, exactly. So I started with the health, but oh my God, it's so nice to like just look at animals now and know that I'm not exploiting you. Like you're my brothers and sisters now. We're part of the same family. You're not like a lower class than me, a lower class of being. And that it's just that's the thing that also people, you know, I just one thing that really drives me crazy is like you go to spiritual groups, Buddhist retreats, and people are all talking about love and compassion and beauty. And then afterwards, they go to the restaurant and they eat a chicken or a fish, and just the compassion goes out the door. Like they just can't see the connection, like you know, because they don't even.
We can't sometimes. We're so stuck in our head that like we like have pets that live in our house that we would never think about eating, or and if somebody else was hurting one of those pets, even if it was their own pet, we will immediately want them like thrown in jail, and like it's terrible. So weird. Or even if you see a dog outside, you want to care for it or take it in or find its owner, and it's just it's like for years I know what it's like because it just those two dots never connected. So
yeah, it's
you know, it's like now it's just like, what was I doing?
And I just really just want to say, like, you do get health benefits in your heart, your neurotransmitters, line about dopamine and serotonin improve and everything, but there is something like even if you block it out and you just go to you don't even go to the supermarket and buy the meat. You just go to you just eat out every time, and the chicken fingers or like, you know, it's all fried up. You can't even see the chicken on a deep subconscious level. You know that you are killing an animal by eating that. So when you release that, there is this opening of your heart, which I think is so important. And I'm so grateful for having that experience. And again, I'm so grateful for Dr. Lou and all of the other people. And I also want to shout out Jeff Palmer. So Dr. Lou.
Yeah, I thought you were going to talk about him with the masculine thing.
Exactly. So Dr. Lou was the one who opened up my eyes. And then I was still struggling, like, where am I going to get the vitamin K2? Where am I going to get this? And then I meet Jeff Palmer on LinkedIn. Meanwhile, he lived in my neighborhood. He lives in South Florida.
Really?
So we actually see each other. Yeah. But every question I had for about 3 months, I was just like, what about this, Jeff? What about this, Jeff? And boom. Not only does he answer, he shows you the research paper. And he's a real inspiration. And he was a huge part of my path.
That was the last time, ironically enough, I had you on last time, and he was the live stream like the same day. I've only done that one time where I had to schedule two people on the exact same day, and it was you and Jeff Palmer. And then I saw like all the like how you guys already knew each other, and like I didn't even know that at the time, except I think recently though I definitely saw one of your it was a really cool little show you did, I think, along with him. It was like plant-based
bros, yeah.
But yeah, he's awesome with all the like you both to me have like such amazing knowledge, because you don't just throw something out there and then say it and or believe it without looking for the true evidence. Like you could say sugar spikes your blood sugar until you know that the fiber in the fruit, I mean sugar, fruit spikes blood sugar, but then you know what you mentioned last time too, the fiber actually slows it down. And I'm like, that makes so much sense. And then but if they want to present you an alternative narrative to say don't eat fruit, then that's, and more people want to hear that because like when you're eating standard American diet, the fruit doesn't taste as good, it doesn't
I'm
feel
gonna,
as good.
I'm gonna talk about that in a moment, actually.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So this is the whole food plant-based diet. So it's 100% plant diet. So nothing from an animal. People are like, well, could I eat fish? I'm like, is a fish an animal? Like, do we really not know that? So you're eating food as closest to the natural. Instead of eating orange juice, you're eating oranges as much as possible. And the optimal human diet, and it's the most complete diet for the animals on the earth. And it contains everything we need. And it's also the lowest in toxins, which you don't hear a lot of whole food plant-based doctors talking about because they're so busy, dealing with, getting people to eat plants. But there is this whole thing of environmental toxins. And it happens that plants have the lowest toxins because animals eat, the chemical sprayed foods, and then they accumulate that in their body. So you get way more toxins from animals. And so it's a very high fiber, high polyphenol, high potassium diet, and it's low in salt, simple sugars, oils, and saturated fats. So just to reiterate, no dead animals, no baby's milk, and no eggs. And there's physical, emotional, spiritual benefits, and it's easy to transition for people who say, oh, I'm a Christian, so I eat meat. The Garden of Eden was clearly plant-based, So the foods that included, so all leafy greens, so, spinach, lettuce, string beans, fennel, cabbage, broccoli, arugula. Now, again, for people who are not used to eating green vegetables, which is sad, because most of the world, India, China, they eat so much green vegetables. Yes, on their own, they're bitter. They might not have a lot of flavor, but if you learn to prepare them, like the whole idea is to blend all the flavors together, and then they taste delicious, And then you got the vegetables, you got peppers, tomatoes. So these green vegetables and vegetables, you could eat as much as you want. Onions, squashes, carrots, eggplant, yams, sweet potatoes, mushrooms, fruits. I was eating, I eat fruits according to the season. And it's really cool because when organic fruits are in season, they're going to be on sale. Like when you go to Whole Foods in different places. So we had orange season. I was eating up to 10 oranges a day.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny you said that.
Yeah.
Did you see what I put up? I was like, I still have more sitting here. I eat these little clementine oranges, and they're like bite-sized to me. I ate like 10 of them.
Yeah, because as you know, if you're eating a whole food plant-based diet with all the fiber, polyphenols, and you're not eating all that saturated fat and you're not eating a lot of fried foods, your body will process the fruits very efficiently. And then you got the beans, which are really important. All the different black, kidney, they're so delicious. I think I might have told this joke before, like how, the kidney beans, like if you want to eat meat, eat your kidney beans. It's like eating a kidney. If you want to eat chicken, eat your chickpea. It's like eating a chicken, So, yeah.
I love it.
You got your whole grains, which I make, as you saw those pizzas, I make this fermented flatbreads using whole grains and beans. It's so delicious. Or you can just cook them on the stovetop like rice. So great. And then you got the seeds, hemp, flax, pumpkin, sunflower, and chia. Those are very, like I said, for the omega-3s. The fatty fruits, so delicious. I eat like an avocado every day. The nuts. I mean, this is just such delicious food, And then you got the breads. Again, I didn't eat bread for like 10 years thinking it was like too many carbs. And now I eat dosa, sprouted breads, tortillas, whole wheat pasta, lots and lots of teas. Mate is a South American drink. Matcha is a great green tea powder. Coffee even is good. Get the low acid version, and then the kombucha. And then the sweeteners, I love date sugar, date syrup, and then maple syrup is good. And then
Did we
all
find
the
that on a dating
spices.
app? Just kidding.
What's that?
I was trying to throw in my own joke. I said, do we find that on a dating app?
Yeah, I like that. I like that. And then you got the vinegars. Ume vinegar is a Japanese vinegar. I use that instead of salt. It has salt, but it has a lot of other benefits. And then this is some of my food. So I eat this every day. Hummus. It's so satisfying.
Oh my God, so good.
Yeah.
Look at the sushi.
Yep.
You got to teach me that trick.
Tacos.
I got this thing that didn't work out for me. It was called, I don't know what it was called, but it was like just this little thing that was supposed to help you make sushi. But I'd rather have your instructions.
Yeah, I can show you for sure. Pasta, whole wheat pasta. I make the sauce from scratch. And you see the little cheese on the pizza? That's made from tofu, miso, nutritional yeast, some lemon, and then a little bit of spices. It is so good. It tastes like ricotta and Parmesan cheese together.
That's like some real Italiano-looking pizza. I love it. That's not just store-bought pizza.
Exactly. Oh, it's so fun. And I make it for people. They don't think they're not like, oh, I miss pizza. They just love it. Overview of what we're going to discuss. So why is it so healthy? So we talk about the fiber and the prebiotics, wide variety of polyphenols, lots of vitamins and minerals, high potassium, low sodium, anti-inflammatory and alkaline, high nutrient density, low calorie density, high omega-3 and saturated fat. Those are what animal products have, the calorie density, right? No TMAO, heme iron, preformed DHA. Those are, I'll discuss that a little bit more ahead. And then low HPAH from burnt protein. So when you burn meat, not only is meat bad for you to start off with, but then when you burn it, it's even bad. It's even worse. When you fry it, like fried chicken, it is the worst thing you could imagine. So let's start with fiber. Fiber is only found in plants, okay? You do not get any fiber from eggs and meat. It's highest in beans, berries, fruits, and vegetables. It's removed, though, when you make white rice, white flour, and white sugar, you're taking out, that's what white flour is. I spelled flour wrong, but yeah. That is, you're taking out the fiber, basically. The interesting thing is, this is, again, like the last 15 years is only when like science has really started to understand important the gut microbiome that live in our body, our large intestine. So with carbohydrates, like all of the talk has been about carbohydrates, carbs, proteins, fats, carbs, protein, fats. What diet, like, and everybody has this simple solution, right? Like, I'm on keto, that means I eat high fat. I'm on carnivore, I eat high protein, you know? So those are all absorbed in our, what's that?
I was saying, yeah, whenever I hear that, I'm like, when someone says I am a carnivore, it's like, that's how you're deciding to eat. But you truly, like, from what I've learned, are not necessarily a carnivore. But
right.
we all have our own time and journey to learn. I didn't know either.
Exactly. People think they just like, no, your body gets to choose, not you. But yeah, and so the simplistic approach, you know, those get absorbed by our small intestine, right? But the fiber doesn't get absorbed there. It passes through the small intestine and into the large intestine, and that's where our microbiome, all these 35,000 different species of bacteria, including, you know, like trillions, maybe even quadrillions of cells of non-human entities that live inside of us, that we are the host of, we feed them. So they're our little babies, right? They're living inside of us. And when you're eating just a lot of meat and no fiber, you're not feeding them. So you're like literally starving out your microbiome. So when you eat fiber, you're feeding them. And 97% of Americans, I mean, think of how crazy that is, are deficient in fiber. The minimum, so 32 grams for a man, 25 for a woman. That's really not hard to get. And 97% of Americans are not hitting that on a daily basis.
That's crazy. What's that? Is that? And I believe it because look at all the products they sell, like Metamucil and all the things that want you, like, you know, that are basically giving you what you should be getting from fiber when you're, you know, I'm assuming you might know better than me, but could you just, I'm sorry, I'm looking down. I'm trying to take notes on that. What is it, the small intestine that those bacteria are, or both intestine?
Well, it's in both intestines, but
oh, okay.
it's mostly in the large intestine, what's also called the
In the
colon.
large one.
So, and by the way, colon cancer is now the second leading cancer, and it's affecting young. It's the number one cancer in like 20 and 30-year-olds. Colon cancer. And my theory is that it's directly linked to these low carb diets. Because when you eat a low carb diet, you're doing like a double, triple whammy. First of all, you're not getting enough fiber. And number two, I just read Jeff's article, you're getting the heme iron, which has been shown to damage the kidneys. Plus, you're not getting fiber and you're not getting polyphenols. Polyphenols are what protect your colon from getting inflammation. So it's just a mess. So yeah, the colon is where, you know, think about like, you know, we have a saying in like the metaphysical or the Buddhist world, like as within, so without. So just like you put your compost, we don't garden anymore these days, but I started doing a little bit. You eat food, you put the leftover food in the soil, and you add some manure from a cow or a horse, and then it makes good soil, right? It's the same thing in our colon. Our colon is full of soil, right? So when you eat, you know, fiber, we're literally composting into our gut. So our small intestine takes out the protein and the fiber and the carbs, and whatever is left over gets into the colon, and then it gets composted there. All these bacteria are eating it. I'm going to talk about that also in a moment. I'm going to get more into that. So yeah, when I grew up, it was like my mom she read some of these magazines like, eat your fiber, eat lettuce, because it pushes, it bulks up your stool. So you get less constipation. That is insoluble fiber. There's two types of fiber, and that's true. It's good to, you want that, but that's only the tip of the iceberg. The real reason, this is like why the whole food plant-based diet works so well, is because of that microbiome. I'm going to explain why the microbiome is so important in the next slide. But so when you eat fiber, it feeds the microbiome. And I put a recommendation, fiber fueled, because what he says in that book is every single different fruit and vegetable and nut and seed that you eat feeds a different bacteria. So we've identified 35,000 bacteria in our colon. They all do amazing things for us. So when you eat an artichoke, or you eat a broccoli, or you eat, wheat or beans, they're all like, some bacteria, again, it's just going into the colon, and the ones who want that are going to eat that. So there's a quote by Dr. B on Fiber Fueled, which says, the diversity of our microbiome is directly connected or proportional to the diversity of the fiber we consume. So it's not plant-based and eat the same thing every day. Just changing, eat a purple carrot, eat a orange carrot, eat broccoli, eat cabbage, just switching it up. And the diversity is going to have a more diverse microbiome. So that's so important. That's like really the most important thing.
It's kind of, is it like that you get immune, like in the chemical world, if you were to take aspirin every day, at some point you'd need more, or medication? At some point you would
definitely
need to people get it when it comes to drugs, right? Like, oh, I drink coffee every day. Now I need 3 cups, right? But when it comes to our actual gut, it's like, why do you think you could eat a cheeseburger at McDonald's every day and eventually not see some, type of negative effects? And like, it's just so disconnected, though. I love that you're educating us on this, because it's like, this happened to me. It must have just been like, meant to happen, or it was my genes, or it couldn't have anything to connect. Like, for years I struggled with back pain and never realized, for 30 days changing to whole food plant-based, or I went raw, but you could do whole food plant-based too, it completely changes your life. I've heard so many people, and it's just amazing. It's like, you don't think pain has to do with what you're eating, or mental anxiety issues, which is what I looked into to start looking into the gut. That's where it all started. I realized when I ate something with magnesium, it made me feel more calm. And then it just went in this whole spiral of gut microbiome. And then you messaged me. I'm like, this is
I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about serotonin, because that's really a big part of this also. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. People just don't see the connection. And I saw Dr. Greger just posted something like 15 to 20% of our health is determined by our genes. Like, this just keeps coming out. And I tell people this, but my mother and that generation, like, they just think everything is genetic. Like, that's just all there is, So yeah, so fiber also slows down calorie absorption. So when you're eating brown rice as opposed to white rice, or an apple instead of apple juice, you're slowing down the absorption. Also, fiber does make us feel full. It expands our belly. But when you get full on Thanksgiving turkey, when you're eating butter, like, you get full, but that's full from fat and oil. That is a horrible type of full to feel. But when you're full on fiber, it's just this nice, you just feel full. I never knew what that felt like until I
right,
but it feels like to be full from eating a ton of beans and fruits and filling my belly, but not filling it with a ton of calories, that now my digestive system has to work for hours and hours to break down all those calories. Like I said, it breaks down what it needs to, and whatever's left goes into my colon, and then I feed my microbiome. So it's a different. Whereas if you fill up on turkey and and like steak and all that butter, cheese, you're getting this huge amount that your body has to break down, and then your colon, your microbiome is getting so little. So
is that why, like, because it's working so hard, and then why you are so tired, and then right after that, though, like, your body's not getting the right nutrients? So I always said I couldn't eat another bite, and like 2 minutes later, I'm like, you got pumpkin pie? Like,
totally.
like, you got, is it sweet potato? Whatever you got, I'll take it, because now I'm hungry again.
That's also,
you don't do that when you're on plants. It seems like I stay full longer.
I know. I never knew it was like to feel full and also not have gut pain also. But that's also connected to dopamine. When you eat so much rich foods like that, you get a high and then you crash. Like, literally, like cocaine. It's the same as cocaine. So like an hour later, you feel terrible and you just want another hit, which again, I'm going to talk about that as well. So also, I learned this from Dr. Lou. Well, you lose weight on the whole food plant-based diet, but you also we are full of toxins, So more fiber. If you don't have enough bulk, if you're not eating enough fiber, you won't be able to pull the toxins. Like, your cells are working around the clock to pull toxins out. But when they get it, they go into the colon, and then they get pulled out when we go to the bathroom. But if we're not getting enough fiber, we're not pulling them out. So guess what happens? Those toxins go right back into our body. So also, fiber is connected to vitamin and mineral absorption, lowers cholesterol, blood sugar, and heart disease, and supports colon health. So our microbiome. So I already talked about this a bit, but it turns out we're not a person.
If I cut in for 1 second, I just realized we had a bunch of people in the audience, but I could only see your specific chat, not mine. I just now went to my real channel here on the phone. I think the presentation wasn't showing me them, so I just wanted to say thank you, Muriel. Thank you so much, and Marakita. Thank you, Roxanne. Thank you. She said you rock, Jason. What is the best food to heal cancer? And oh, hi, Miguel. Thank you for joining too. That was Marakita's question.
Okay, yeah. I'm not giving medical advice. You got to give that warning. But, the whole food plant-based diet is the best diet for cancer. I'm going to talk about polyphenols. Oh, cool. We got that. I see that popping up. Polyphenols, I would say, are the best bet for cancer and having a wide diversity of them. So I'll get into that. But thanks for asking that. And there's other causes of cancer as well. There's emotional causes of cancer. And then there is these toxins. So that's why Dr. Lou would be a great person to come on and talk about that. So I'm going to introduce you to her. If she's not here. Oh, no, she's probably not here or unless she's watching my stream, because she did know I'm doing this. But so our microbiome, we're not a person. We are an ecosystem. So think about that. We say I'm Jason, but where is Jason? Jason is just a name, right? I'm a whole process upon process of systems, digestive system. I'm a whole bunch of systems working. But what makes it even weirder is that we have this microbiome, these bacteria that literally we could not live without. And they can't live without us because they don't have arms and legs. They can't walk around and they can't pick foods. We have to feed them. So they rely on us to feed them. And they give us so much benefits, including producing neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, which make us feel good. So the more fiber we eat, the happier mind we have. They also are so important for immune system. Like, it's just research coming out more and more and more about. So again, I would say one of the main reasons the whole food plant-based diet is so healthy is because of how it makes a healthy microbiome. And they also create something called short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which I'm going to show you in the next slide, has many benefits. So butyrate, I've heard this naturopathic doctor say butyrate's the most important, most anti-inflammatory molecule in the body. So when our microbiome eat fiber, they produce as a byproduct short chain fatty acids, one of them called butyrate, very heavily researched. And the butyrate, first of all, it gives our colon cells eat it. So it's the preferred food of our colon. So when I was having that painful gut issues, and then I switched to whole food plant-based, and I started feeling so much better, that's because the butyrate is connected to healing the leaky gut. And the leaky gut, has been shown by Hippocrates in the ancient world, and Ayurvedic medicine says all disease starts in the gut. That might be an oversimplification, but they knew, and now we know, when you have a leak in your gut, microscopic food is getting out of your gut and into the rest of your body, which is not where it belongs. And that causes a constant inflammation. Your body perceives it as a constant threat. And after a while, your body can't fight it. And then that food particles, they're called LPSs, they wind up in deeper and deeper into your body. And that leads to cancer. It leads to like asthma, it leads to like a lot of diseases when we have a leaky gut. So we know when you eat fiber, your microbiome produces butyrate. It's a perfect system. We were talking about nature. It's a relationship. We have a relationship with our microbiome. And if we don't treat them good, they're pretty resilient. But after a while, like, if we don't feed them right, if we don't take care of them, they're not going to do what they do, and we're going to suffer. So it's really stupid, to not take care of them.
Right. Like they are literally the closest thing to us inside our body, right? And the other thing I was thinking is, if you look at it just as an analogy, it made me think of this when you were talking about that. If you had a leak a slow leak in one of your pipes, you might not notice things right away, but at some point your entire like basement will be flooded, you know, over time, or you might find this tile is not looking right. So like the body gives us some kind of little hints sometimes and we ignore them, I think, because the way you explained that was so perfect. I never realized what leaky gut meant, but anything that's coming out like a it's like clogging drains and things like that, or the I always equate that with the cells and things, but it's just I like the way you described it. I've never heard anyone put it that way. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
I love this presentation. I'm going to
That's what
listen
I
to
strive
it again after I get done here while I'm cooking.
to do.
Or
Awesome.
not
Yeah,
cooking, whatever I do, chop.
no, that's what I strive to do, is to make this easy to understand, you know. And oh, what was I just thinking about? The leaky gut. Yeah, you know, a lot of blame. A lot of people, like, for a while it was like gluten is the enemy, right? Everything is gluten, gluten, gluten. And so again, this is a perfect example of oversimplification. So if your gut is already a mess because you are not getting enough fiber and you're not producing butyrate and you're not fixing the leaky gut, then yes, gluten will be a problem. But if you have a healthy gut, gluten is great. You know, wheat is great, barley is great, as long as. So again, this is a perfect example of that oversimplification. And butyrate again has anti-inflammatory effects. It regulates our blood sugar. If you just go on the internet and type in benefits of butyrate, you're just going to see a huge list of benefits. And Dr. B in Fiber Fueled points out that they actually found people who eat more plant-based have more butyrate in their brain. And again, because the brain it's like the gut, it's like the gut brain, they call it, you know. So we get leaky brain, and that's what causes dementia. So he doesn't quite make the claim, but he's pointing to the fact that we already know that whole food plant-based diet has been the only diet shown to reverse heart disease and diabetes, but he probably Alzheimer's as well, without a doubt. So the next category is polyphenols. Again, only in plants. You're not going to get polyphenols in animal products. And they're what give fruits, herbs, vegetables, and spices, nuts, beans, and grains their smells, their flavors, and their colors. So anytime you smell something, cinnamon smells good. You peel an orange, you get that orange smell. That's a polyphenol. When you see the color orange on the orange, there you go. That's a polyphenol that gives it. It's literally like vibration. It's pigments of light. You know, it absorbs light. And the flavors, all the flavors are polyphenols, and they have huge health benefits. You could see in this picture, you got the all those beautiful fruits and herbs and essential oils. That's all polyphenols at work. So eat the rainbow. It's really not, you know, we could talk about the science and the technical chemical names, but just eat the rainbow and you're going to cover all your bases. So the red foods like tomato, grapefruit, watermelon have something called lycopene, which is great for the prostate and other things as well. Green foods like spinach, kale, arugula are great for the heart and blood, and blue and purple foods are great for the brain. And spices and herbs, again, the American diet, you know, is very deficient in spices and herbs. We don't drink herbal teas, but as I traveled the world, everywhere I went, they were always consuming chamomile teas and chai. I actually created my own chai product. I'll tell you about that. But these spices and teas, like when you think of Indian food, they're putting like at least 10 spices in everything they eat. So that makes a huge difference because they have sources of polyphenols, and polyphenols act as antioxidants as well. They have other benefits, but they also act as antioxidants because basically we have every time you do anything, stress, just walking, just eating creates these things called free radicals, which are just a molecule of oxygen, which is very, what's the word, like volatile or very, it's just very active. So when that bumps into one of our cells, it could potentially damage it. When it gets deep into our cells, into our nucleus of our cells, it can cause cancer. So when you eat polyphenols, which again, the colors, the smells, and the taste from plants, you don't get any of it from animals. Those polyphenols are like that vacuum. They suck up these free radicals that cause the rusting, that cause the damage. So if you see here, 24-hour protection, if you're eating fruits throughout the day and beans and whole grains, seeds and nuts, and you drink, I recommend drink a lot of herbal teas. Like I make, again, you know me, I like to batch cook, right? So every morning, first thing I do is I make a big pot of herbal tea and I let it sit there and I drink it throughout the day. So instead of just drinking water, which I drink water too, but I'm getting 4 to 5 cups of super high polyphenol tea. So just think, every day, whereas most people are just not are getting these free radicals, I'm drinking this drink and it's just going into my body and sucking up all those free radicals, keeping my skin looking healthy, keeping my organs healthy, protecting me from cancer, and even more than that. So if you look at the polyphenol levels, right? Clove has 300,000 ORAC score. It's the highest of any. Yeah. Peppermint is very high, like dried peppermint. Both of those are in my tea, by the way. I every morning I have clove, peppermint, tulsi, cinnamon, fennel, anise. These are all superfood. Ginger is really high. Turmeric is really high. So you got
I eat
160.
ginger every day. I got one of them anyway.
Yeah, no,
I drink it better. I put it in tea.
Which one?
I put ginger and lemon
Yeah.
in tea in the morning. And does that say blueberry? Oh, that's just a comparison. I got you.
Yeah. Blueberries are very
Oh,
high. I'm just showing you
nice.
how high these spices are.
Right. I
Cacao
see
is very
that.
high. Coffee is actually where most Americans get any polyphenol from. So if you're eating like just a meat, meat and processed food, like you don't get any polyphenols if you're eating white bread or cereal. You don't get polyphenols. So when Americans drink their coffee, that's like the only time they're getting polyphenols. So I'm having cloves and peppermint and cacao and blueberries every day, and I drink cacao every day. And then look at the meat, cheese, and eggs. 0.
If you think about it like sometimes I think about it like this, if you have a house and you have like a deadbolt on your door, or you have a security system or whatever you might have, it's like, why wouldn't you put this stuff into your system knowing that it could help all of these things? Like it could help you age slower, it could help protect you
Yeah,
from different disease. It's like it just makes so much sense. I love the way you presented that.
it's it amazes me too. I cannot figure it out, and that's why I made this. But we'll have some common sense at the end. So, yeah. Then there's another thing called nitric oxide, not to be confused with nitrous oxide. So this is very high in arugula. Arugula, that's one of my favorite vegetables, but it's in beets. So a lot of bodybuilders, they'll drink their beet juice. And what it does is it signals our blood vessels to open up, which brings more oxygen to all our cells. And oxygen is energy. So this is great for blood pressure because it opens up the cells so there's less pressure. Also great for workout performance. Like Jeff could tell you more about that, but people perform like 20, 30% better. And then erectile dysfunction. Viagra is a vasodilator, which is what nitric oxide is. Then you got potassium. Potassium, this I didn't really know much about potassium, believe it or not, until I went plant-based. And I had high blood pressure when I was doing all those diets. So it's very high in vegetables and fruits. It's important for cell hydration, muscle and muscle function. But what most important is it regulates blood pressure and the heart rhythm. So again, 97% of Americans don't get enough, and 90% of Americans over age 2, that's not a mistake, over age 2 are consuming too much salt. Okay? Wow. So potassium and salt are like, they balance each other. So if you're eating a lot of potassium, it's going to lower your blood pressure. If you're eating a lot of salt, it's going to raise your blood pressure. So what are Americans doing? What are these paleo diets doing? Tons of salt and very little potassium. So when you're eating whole food plant-based, you're getting potassium. It's much higher. Even potatoes. People think potatoes are just carbs. Potatoes are very high in potassium. So again, eat like 3 bananas, eat a couple potatoes, eat some beans, and you meet your potassium requirements. And 97% of Americans are not meeting that. Like most Americans are eating no fruit. They don't even eat a single piece of fruit a day, you know? They're just like, you know, breakfast is like, you know, cereal or a bagel with cheese. You're getting no potassium there. You're getting no polyphenols. You're getting very little fiber unless it's like, you know, and whole wheat bread is not really whole wheat. You know, Ezekiel bread is good. You know, I'm sure we've talked about that. But so monounsaturated fat is very high in olives, avocados, nuts, and seeds. Animal products have saturated fat. And unsaturated fat lowers cholesterol. Saturated fat raises cholesterol. Again, it's so simple. You know, remember I talked about all the evidence pointing to one direction. So unsaturated fat is good for skin and brain. And it's also very commonly found with vitamin E, which is very hard to get from animal products. It's high in nuts and seeds. And it also helps the absorption of vitamin A, D, E, and K. So, you know, so getting monounsaturated fat is great for many things, as opposed to animal products. Here we go. This disgusting picture. I know, right? Like, so saturated fat is high in animals, and it negatively affects insulin sensitivity, which is I'm going to talk more about, and then also associated with heart disease, dementia, obesity, diabetes, and then you get this thing called TMAO. Which, remember, I talked about how when you eat polyphenol, when you eat fiber, your microbiome eats the fiber and produces butyrate, which is amazing. When you eat meat and eggs and cheese, a different type of bacteria eats that. So we have some bacteria that breaks down the fiber. But then we have other bacteria that breaks down meat. So what we eat, we breed. Think about that concept. If you're eating a lot of fiber, you're breeding this bacteria and microbiome in you that's producing these wonderful things like butyrate, serotonin. When you eat animal products, you're feeding a different species of bacteria, which produce something called TMA, which goes into your liver and becomes TMAO, which is associated with all types of diseases from cancer to heart disease. So that's just a long explanation of feeding the bad bacteria. So there's this thing called heme iron, which everyone's like, oh, you get more iron from animal products. So yes, if you are like severely anemic and about to die, you from some heme iron. But for the most part, we're getting way too much iron in our diet. So when you eat the iron from animal products, from meat, it absorbs very quickly into your body. And now we know that, especially for men, because men don't bleed, right? We don't have that monthly cycle. So men are having so much heart disease, and a lot of it is due to iron. So when you eat plants, you get enough iron, but you're not flooding your body with iron. And remember, I just read from Jeff's article, especially colon cancer, that all that iron is very. Think about iron; it rusts, right? Iron rusts. So if you're eating all that iron, that rusting is responsible for colon cancer. So, and then there's what I mentioned before: when you burn or fry stuff or eat full-fat dairy like cheese, you're getting these things called the ages, like it ages you. AGE, advanced glycation end products. These are things you don't want in your system. And again, this is what you get from meat. Now, dopamine shots. Okay, so this is something I'm really passionate about because I love the mind, as you know, right? So when you're eating saturated fats, salt, MSG, and sugar, think ice cream, right? Think junk food, think meat, cheese. Your body gets this huge hit. It gets a reward, a dopamine reward. I put reward in quotations because you didn't do anything to earn that reward. You just bought a piece of cheese, you know? So when you eat those kind of foods, it's as if like you did cocaine or something, because coke increases your dopamine. And until recently, we never were able to get so much meat. Like people would get meat once in a blue moon, like once a week, once a month, you know. Before we developed this technology and factory farming, people were not able to get meat every day. They weren't able to get dairy every day, processed sugars, all this salt. Salt used to be a commodity. It was rare. And MSG wasn't invented, right? So we never had access to that until like 100 years ago, less than 100 years ago. So now we have access to all that stuff. So you just, for a little bit amount of money, you can go get a McDonald's hamburger and you're getting all those things. You're getting saturated fat, salt, MSG, sugar. So like a drug, you're getting this incredible high. You're not even tasting the food. People don't even enjoy bacon ice cream, right? Like you get tasting it anymore. You just, it's a drug. You're addicted. So ice cream and fruits are the old, right? And it's very similar to cocaine. So you're going to say it takes like 2 weeks to get off that addiction.
Mm-hmm.
When you're eating all that food, all oh, you know, eat plant-based, you know, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like, because so, oh yeah, and every time we eat, we become dopamine insensitive. Like that's what you were saying before, right? After a while, you need more dopamine just to get the hit. So you got to have
Mm-hmm.
more fatty food, more MSG, more flavor. And you see these people who are like foodies. I'm a foodie. I'm a real foodie because I love the flavor of food. But they need to go to a restaurant and like try all this fancy thing and eat something different every day because they're chasing that dopamine hit. And also this is when you're addicted to food and you're getting so much dopamine from food and also from like pornography. Those are like the two big ones. You lose motivation to make our lives better because we're supposed to release dopamine when we accomplish something, but we're getting that same dopamine from just eating McDonald's or ice cream. So when you get that hit, you lose the motivation to better yourself. And it also leads to lowered sex drive, depression, and anxiety. And food becomes an addiction. You're not even, like I said, enjoying the food. Now contrast that with serotonin. So serotonin is a grounding neurotransmitter, and it's connected to contentment. And 90% of our serotonin is produced like where in our colon, in our large intestine, by our microbiome when we feed them fiber. So
That's amazing. I couldn't get over that.
you know it's so simple. That's why like again, I used to have those crashes when I was eating so much cheese and I would eat and then I'd be tired after I ate. And now I eat, I feel full, but I'm not tired. I'm ready to go. You know, I don't nap anymore. I used to need a nap every day, and that's
Mm-hmm.
something I noticed. Um, and then again, instead of this cocaine-like dopamine hit followed by crashes, serotonin sustains our well-being. So happy microbiome, happy human, better mood, sleep, motivation, decision making, and feeling full. So that's all. Oh, and there's something called the vagus nerve. So it connects your gut to your brain. So that's the theory on how the serotonin travels up to your brain, because there's people who say it doesn't work that way. There's actual heroin in cheese. So dairy has something called casomorphine. This is true. And it's, think about it, you know, a baby needs to needs the mother's milk. Only babies need mother's milk to survive, right? So in order to motivate the baby to keep going. If the baby doesn't suck on the mother's breast, it dies. So there's morphine, there's heroin inside the breast milk to make the baby keep feeding, and then also to rest, right? Because babies need to rest a lot to repair. But we're not babies anymore. So we don't need to suck on our mother's breast anymore, right? So we don't need to, we don't need the dairy.
Well, we think we need to suck on a cow, so.
I know.
I was like, oh, I saw that meme one time and it totally made me laugh. But if I wasn't vegan and I saw that, I would have been like, these people are crazy and shut it out, right?
I know. That's why I'm trying to present the science, not the, but it does. I do get passionate about how crazy people are, and it literally stimulates the same part of your brain as morphine. That guy, what's his name? Dr. Neil Barnard, Physicians Committee. He wrote a whole book on cheese. He wrote a whole.
Yeah, the cheese trap or something.
Cheese is the most addictive food by far, because it has all those saturated fats, all that salt, and the casomorphine. So you're just forget, you're just eating all that.
Is that what? Oh no, I was thinking of something else. Queso. At first, I thought you were saying queso.
Well, that's funny. That's actually. I wonder if that's where that word comes. It's probably where the word comes from, actually.
Right.
Yeah. Because casein is a protein in dairy. So our taste buds change in 10 to 14 days. That's why I have an 8-week gut reset. So I've been doing this as a one-on-one thing, but now I'm opening up to a group thing. So I've already gotten in that group 5 people, and none of them are plant-based. So once I changed it to instead of saying whole food plant-based cooking program, which it is, but when I switched it to 8-week gut reset, all of a sudden everybody wants to do it. So It's really funny. And the trick is, if I can get them to go 14 days with just eating plants, their taste buds will literally change, and that dopamine addiction will go down.
That's so true. I can speak from personal experience. There are stuff I hated growing up, like avocados and broccoli and just like arugula. I hated that too until just recently. All of a sudden, when I started eating it, I realized, because I had tried it a long time ago and I thought this is really too bitter and I didn't like it. And it's just weird once you get that fresh taste and start tasting real food. It's almost like you can use dressing, but it's not like I had to. I would have a bowl of ranch with a little dip of salad in it instead of the other way around. When I was now, I know the stuff in the ranch was addictive, so I wasn't really wanting salad. I was wanting
it's so true. It's so true. Again, when I've always loved foods, but then I got into the paleo, and I was always eating a lot of cheese. So now that I went whole food plant-based, as a chef, right, professional chef of 2 decades, I enjoy food more than ever because I'm not getting that dopamine hit. I'm actually tasting all the ingredients. I'm actually enjoying the subtle flavors because my taste buds are working better because I'm not just putting on layers of fat. I have a little bit of fat, from an avocado now. It's so it makes everything just, no matter what, you could never get enough butter on it to be more rich. So yeah, and the spices
the spices that you were talking about, that's amazing that you can use those to flavor the plant food and still get this boost of really healthy things for you.
It's crazy. It's again, it's wonderful if you want to look at nature or if you want to look at a creator. Of course, the most delicious food is going to be the healthiest. Again, meat is not delicious. Everybody says that I love meat. I mentioned this too. We associate food with family and love. So, of course, you think of Thanksgiving. As we get older, life is hard. A lot of people get depressed, especially if you're eating a lot of meat and stuff, for a lot of reasons. So we always think back on our childhood, for the most part, it's nostalgic. Even if we had a troubled childhood, we think of that Christmas dinner. We had a big piece of ham and, our comfort food. So a lot of why people are addicted to meat and have such a hard time with this is literally just they associate it with their family. They associate it with love and culture. People are like, I don't want to be vegan. That's why I try to say, oh, I'm not vegan. I'm not telling you to be vegan. Be whole food, plant based, you know. But and again, it takes 14 days to break this cycle. And when we go beyond this dopamine, we actually enjoy the food and we start to feel good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it feels good to eat good food, but imagine like when you actually are creating that serotonin and you feel good, not just when you're eating. A lot of people, sadly, they're miserable and the only time they're happy all day is when they eat, you know,
Right.
they're
That was just so
working.
crazy.
I know. But when you eat fiber, when you're eating that simple fiber, there's this humble food, cheap, inexpensive fiber foods, you're feeding your microbiome, it's producing serotonin, and you just feel good for no reason. You just feel good. Then you feel even better knowing that you're not killing animals. It's another whole other thing. But another thing is, you mentioned this earlier, I grew up, you know, my parents didn't have candy and soda in the house, so I used to like fruit. Then when I got older and I started going to my friend's house and eating candy and drinking soda, I couldn't eat fruit anymore. It didn't have any flavor to me. So now I cannot believe, like every time I eat fruit, I'm like, how am I so lucky that I get to eat this fruit? And again, talking about fruit in season, at the local farmers market near me, it's called Bednar's. They grow their own strawberries, no pesticides. The whole crate is $2.50. I just like
Oh, wow.
$2.50. You could buy like you could barely get anything for $2.50. I bought 4 of them and I just ate an entire pint. Just ate the whole pint of strawberries, and it's just no guilt. That whole pint is like 75 calories.
And it's like, that's crazy. And then, like, the whole thing, I've heard you talk about this. Well, two things real quick. Before, it was like, that people say it's expensive. And I
Oh
love
yeah,
that you also show people how to do it in a way that's cost effective. But really, it's not really expensive when you buy whole foods as it is if you're buying all the processed. And the other thing was, thank you for clearing that up, because I hear everybody say, I've been in a good mood since I've been eating plant based. I feel better. I have more energy. It's like you just told us the whole reason why it's not this like phenomenon. It actually has scientific reason in the gut. And like, who knew our gut controlled so much of our body and our obviously our body, but like our mind, like
mine.
that it actually talks to our brain. And that's just unbelievable.
I mean, I
Thank
told you, like my passion first and foremost is meditation. So anything that can give me an edge with meditation, I'm going to go for it. You know, so I can't tell you. I went plant based 3 years ago, and at that point, I had meditating, practicing seriously for 17 years. When I went plant based, major boost, major jump in my meditation, able to focus better, all that stuff. Because I was like, again, eating all this cheese, getting all this cocaine in my head, all this morphine, and then I sit down to meditate, my brain is all fried. Now I'm getting this serotonin, which is what your body needs, and also GABA. I have to look more into that research, but your microbiome,
I've
GABA.
GABA is actually, from what I understand, because this is what a lot of people are suffering now with anxiety
Oh yeah,
and like, and things like OCD, and which I've struggled with too. And like, people are having such, like, the way the world, like when the pandemic happened, I think that created a lot of anxiety in people that still is lingering. Even before that, I'm sure there's many people who struggle with depression. And the GABA, I noticed when I was reading about it, these receptors that they kind of like calm those things in the brain, right? So the fact that you're saying that the GABA is in, like, can be transformed by our gut, it's like
mm-hmm.
not only our body but our mind can
Exactly.
benefit from the gut. That's amazing, and you're
Crazy,
showing
I know.
people how to do it.
I have to do more research on the GABA part, but I did come across that. I'm sure Jeff could help me. Speaking of Jeff, here he is. But I know the serotonin. The serotonin, that's clear. That's really clear. So here's Jeff. I put his picture here because now I'm gonna I'm going to go after the questions that we commonly get, that everyone's afraid of. So I put his picture because he's 40 years, actually 41. He just turned 41 years plant-based, 61 years old, no animal products in 41 years, bodybuilder, no medication, no steroids. So can we get enough protein, right? So first of all protein comes from plants. We don't need to eat an animal to get them. And we can get everything we need from a balanced plant diet. And actually, we're getting too much protein, which actually leads to kidney damage. And all the extra protein that we eat gets converted into sugar anyway. So this obsession with protein makes no sense on any level. So let's look at, food. Let's look at what people think of protein when you go to the restaurant. They're like, what's going to be your protein? So cheddar cheese, 300 calories from fat, 95 from protein. An egg, 90 from fat, almost double the fat of protein. Beef, 250 ground meat, 250 calories from fat, 90 from protein. Salmon, 160, 90. Nutritional yeast, right? This delicious flavor that you put on things. Look how much protein it has compared to fat. So if you're worried about protein, just put nutritional yeast on your food, and you're getting more protein and less fat than if you're eating eggs and beef and salmon and cheddar cheese. It makes no sense. Next question. Do we need to eat collagen? Collagen is an industrial waste product. You have all this meat and they have all these bones left over. Like, what are we going to do with these bones? Like, let's sell them to people. Let's make money off it, right? So I learned from Dr. Lou that our body, it's just to keep our bodies safe. If they get into the brain and in the organs, so the body's very intelligent, stores it in the bones. So when you're eating collagen and bone soup, you're actually getting the highest amount of heavy metals and toxins. And I've seen her test people who do like the carnivore diet, and they're very high in lead. Actually, I was shocked. So, and here's the funniest thing of it all. This is just the funniest thing, and I want everyone to hear this and just remember this. Like, when you eat collagen is a protein, right? Collagen is a protein. It has made up of 3 amino acids. Okay, like glycine, valine, and provaline. Okay, 3 amino acids make up this thing called collagen. Our body, and collagen is very important. Collagen is what keeps our skin together. It keeps our brain together. It keeps our gut together. Collagen, just think of like a webbing that keeps everything together. But here's the funny thing. People have been brainwashed, even doctors, into believing that when you eat collagen from bones, that collagen goes into you eat it and then it just goes into your skin. It does not work that way. Your body breaks the collagen down into the amino acids, right? So you have this collagen made up of 3 amino acids. You eat the collagen, it goes into your stomach and then your small intestine, and all of these chemicals and enzymes break it down, until what are you left over with? The 3 amino acids. Glycine, valine, and provaline. And what happens next? It goes out of your small intestine, goes into the blood, goes to where it needs to go, and then your body has to put it back together. So guess what?
Wow.
You could just eat cabbage and beans and vegetables, and you get the exact same amino acids that do the exact same thing, and your body puts it together. So whether you get collagen from animals or you get the same amino acids from plants, you're doing the exact same thing. You can't you just eating collagen does not put collagen in your skin, and putting it on your skin also does not work. You just need to eat plants. And here's the thing I learned from Jeff also. It's actually vitamin C is the most important part. So without the vitamin C, your body can't make collagen. So if you're on a paleo carnivore diet and you're eating a lot of collagen and you're not getting, where do you get vitamin C from? You get it from plants and fruits. So if you're eating plants and fruits, your body is going to make the best collagen. Whereas if you take collagen powders, it does nothing. It just gives you a lot of toxins. It is the dumbest trend. Again, I bought into it. I believed it. You know, like I want to have good joints. I got to eat collagen. Now
Right.
I just eat plants. So can we get need from plants? So I'll go through this really quickly, but part of this mythology is that we are, for some reason, the gorilla and the orangutan, they can eat plants all day, and their body can take ALA, which is in flax seeds and plants, and create DHA, or eat the carotenoids in carrots. That's where the word comes from, carrots and different colored vegetables, and make vitamin A. And then the vitamin K1 into K2. So all these animals that we're related to can eat, can convert them, but then they tell us we're not good at converting them. That's why we need to eat fish. We can't just eat ALA. We need to get DHA from the fish. It's not true. And Jeff did some great research. He's probably the cutting edge researcher on this, where he talks about the reason why that idea came out, that you don't convert ALA to DHA well, is because they were only testing the blood. When they test the organs in plant-based people, they have just as much DHA as the people who are eating fish and the DHA. So again, just a perfect example of bad science missing the big picture, looking at one thing, only looking at the blood, and then making a conclusion from that. So the same thing with vitamin A and carotenoids. You get tons and tons of carotenoids in kale and spinach and carrots and sweet potatoes, and your body is perfectly equipped to convert it to vitamin A. I already mentioned the collagen, so I'll keep going. So aren't fruits and grains just high in carbs? So isolated sugar, not fruits, but if you just take white sugar or white flour, that is very bad for you, yes. But fruits have carbs, but they also have fiber, polyphenols, water, vitamins, and minerals. And in fact, fruits and vegetables, even though they have carbs in them, they have the exact opposite effect. So, for example, when you eat carbs, your blood sugar will go up, but then, I'm sorry, if you eat fruits and whole grains, your blood sugar will go up a little bit. But then if you eat more, if you eat like a donut afterwards, if you eat carbs after you eat fruits, it'll actually have a positive effect. So eating carbs that come from fruits and vegetables and grains and beans will actually increase it'll reduce the damage that carbs do to your body. Let me go to the next slide. Explain. Yeah. So when we talk about blood sugar levels, eating berries actually lowers the blood sugar levels. It goes up for a little bit, but then it has in the long, again, talk about the big picture versus bad science. The bad science saying, oh, all fruit apples raise your blood sugar. Yes, it does. But if you look at the big picture of a person's life, it actually lowers it. It increases insulin sensitivity, which I'm going to explain in a little bit also. Am I going too long? We're going pretty long.
No, I'm fine. I guess good information. Let's make sure people have it. That
15 more slides, but yeah, I'll speed it up a little bit.
Take your time.
Yeah, so all these longevity studies, regardless of the blood sugar, this and that, when you look at people, the blue zones, the people who are eating, the more fruit you eat, the more whole grains you eat, and especially the more beans you eat, the longer you live. People who eat beans on a regular basis, which is most of the world, except for the modern Western people, which is now spreading all over, you eat beans, you live 7 years longer. And it's not just longer, it's better. It's better quality. Everyone's like, I don't want to live long. Yeah, it's not about living long. It's about living long with quality of life. And then, and fruits are also very high in vitamin C and polyphenols. So you're not just getting carbs, you're getting these things that are sucking up all the oxidation. So I'll
sprouts. good, like the same or better? I wanted
What's
to
that?
ask that real quick. Like a bean sprout, is that going to give you about the
It's,
same or?
it's different. It's different. It's very good. Sprouts are amazing. And yeah, if you're on a raw diet, yeah, you could do. Actually, I met this amazing raw. I should introduce you to her too. She's amazing. She's pretty much raw, and she showed me how she makes her beans, which is pretty much raw. Like I never thought to do it, but it's different. You definitely can get different effects from it. But yeah, sprouts are like the healthiest foods you can get for
Thank
sure.
you.
Yeah. So diabetes. 45% of Americans have diabetes or pre-diabetes. So that means you walk outside, you go to the airport, you go to the mall, you go to the store. One out of every two people is already pre-diabetic or diabetic, and it's getting worse. And these biohackers will blame everything on the carbs. Again, this is a perfect example of bad science. When you look at the big picture, carbs are only a problem if we're eating excess fat. So again, this is probably the most technical part of the talk, and I won't spend too much time. I do recommend the book Mastering Diabetes. I know I interviewed someone on my channel, Zainab. She lost 120 pounds, reversed her diabetes by following the whole food plant-based diet. So what happens is really simple. Really try to explain this simple is that you when you eat fats, they get into our cells. They clog up our cells because they take a lot of energy to burn. What happens is while you're eating the fats and our body is digesting fats and you eat carbs on top of that, those sugars, those carbs cannot get into the cells. And because of that, the insulin, the pancreas, which produces the insulin, which tells the cells to open up and let them in, the it's not working. The sugars are not getting into the cells. So the pancreas just keeps pumping out more insulin. And after a while, after many, many years of eating these high fat, high animal product diets, saturated fat diets, after a while, the pancreas just gets overworked and stops working as well. And that's what we call diabetes. So if you're not eating the animal products, if you're not eating the high saturated fat diet, you could eat carbs. When I say carbs, I mean fruits and vegetables and grains and beans. You could eat all of it you want, and your pancreas will work, your insulin will work, you will not gain weight. But it's only when you're eating. Oh, hey, Philip. Beautiful. Okay, so we already have someone who knows what we're talking about. That's exactly right. So this is like the science behind that. There's, I think, Mastering Diabetes, there's like 10,000 people like Philip and Zainab who already reversed their diabetes. And again, you go to a diabetes doctor to this day, you go to a diabetes doctor to this day, they will tell you, if you just go on Google and say what to eat for diabetes, you will see low carb diet. It's totally wrong, and you still see it. All right, now take a look at this, calories. Look at this chart on the left. Fruits and look at a stomach. So 500 calories will fill up your entire stomach from fruits and vegetables. Potatoes and beans, rice and beans will fill up almost the whole stomach. Meat, cheese, oil, and fats barely fill it up. So it's really hard to, like, I actually, I will admit, like, I'm an emotional eater, especially at night. It's my worst habit. So even when I'm at my worst, I'll gain 5 pounds. Whereas if I was eating, when I was eating animal products, I would gain 20 pounds, and then I would, have to lose it. So now I'm not recommending people like overeat, but if you're gonna overeat, do it on fruits and vegetables, right? So check this out. 100 grams of butter is 717 calories. 100 grams of strawberries is 32 calories. Look at the difference in that. And again, your stomach
Wow.
You feel full when your stomach's full. You eat that butter, your stomach is barely full, and you could just keep eating. An orange, 47 calories. Look at the bacon, 540. So apple, watermelon, black beans, 132 calories, but so much fiber in those beans. So if you look at all these animal products, you're getting so much more calories for 100 grams. And then look at the fiber. So black beans, 9 grams per 100, 9 grams of fiber per 100 grams. Oats. So remember how I said the average 97% of Americans aren't getting the 32 grams for men, 28 for women. You eat an avocado, right? I don't even, actually, those 100 grams. I don't even think I think that's like half an avocado. You put some nutritional yeast, flax.
I wish I could eat only a half of avocado, Jason. I've got.
No, nothing wrong. No. I'm saying this
I have an
number.
addiction to it.
No, but my point is, if you eat a whole avocado, you're getting double the fibers.
Right.
So it's even I eat an avocado every day for sure. And then I look on the other side, 0 fiber.
That's crazy.
So to address this one, killing animals the same as killing plants. People say, well, animal plants. So this is really important. People don't even understand this. So fruits and beans and seeds and nuts do not cause any harm to the plant, right? It produces the fruit and you pick it. You're not killing the fruit. In fact, it wants to be picked, right?
Seed dispersal, right?
What's that?
Like seed dispersal. It's all part of that well planned out.
Exactly. It's a gift. It's a gift. It doesn't cause any harm. In fact, it's grateful that we replant it, And then green vegetables, I say it. I don't think I don't believe plants have feelings, but then green vegetables like broccoli, they only live for one season. So you're not killing the broccoli. Like when the broccoli is done, it's going to die. So then you cut it and eat it. Whereas you can't just cut an animal's leg off or cut off its stomach. It's not going to live. So broccoli lives one season. So you're not killing broccoli. And even some root vegetables, like if you really, really care about plants that much, which these meat eaters don't care, they're just trying to argue, you could actually cut a sweet potato, take the roots, and it'll still live. And then mushrooms, you're not killing it. You're only taking the top part, the fruit. So how to address that. So again, I won't spend too much time here, but all these things from the plant paradox, where they say lectins are killing you and phytates
took my question. That's exactly my next point was when you said that about the plants, the oxalates. I love it.
So again, I got to thank Jeff for all this. So lectins are actually, again, lectins and phytates, it turns out they fight cancer in our body. In fact, they're making drugs out of lectins to fight cancer. So all these things, and you don't want to overdo the lectins. Of course, you could overdo it. You don't want to eat raw beans. You want to cook your beans, but who eats raw beans, Sprout them, cook them. Same thing with phytates. And then the oxalates, what's very interesting about oxalates cause, so people associate oxalates when they look at like kidney stones and when they look at like gout in the joints, they see oxalates. So they say, oh, it's oxalates. So you got it. So there's oxalates in spinach. There's oxalates in chocolate. There's oxalates in sweet potatoes. Don't eat oxalates. Turns out to be completely wrong. When you eat oxalates, there's a bacteria in your gut called oxalobacter. I learned this from Jeff. And when you eat spinach with a lot of oxalates, the oxalobacter eats that, and then you start to grow that bacteria in your stomach, but here in your gut. But here's the crazy thing: your body makes its own oxalates. So when you're eating foods with oxalates, you're feeding the bacteria that eats oxalates. So that bacteria not only eats the oxalates from your food, but they eat the oxalates from your body. So when you eat oxalates, not only does it not make kidney stones, it actually gets rid of kidney stones. So it's so funny how all of the anti-plant-based arguments they not only are they wrong, but they actually fall completely back on their face. It's the meat that's causing the gout and the kidney stones, whereas the plants are not causing. So again, simple. It's this simplistic way of thinking. They say kidney stones are made from oxalates. You eat spinach has oxalates. Stay away from spinach. No, eat the spinach. And I learned this from Dr. Lou also, because I brought this up. I'm like, what about these oxalates? She's like, I'm from China. I go to China. I see these old women who eat spinach every single day. They eat green spinach every day, and they're still working with their hands. How is that possible? And that's when my mind started to open up. I was like, wow, you got to look at the big picture, not the small
Yeah,
stuff.
and I think they pick out isolated things like certain medications, or if you take like supplements of too much of another nutrient that might, like, I think, was it iron what you were talking about again? Sometimes I don't know what it is. I'm misquoting it, but I think iron might slow
Yeah.
down the oxalates or something. But like if you have just over did what is the surgery, like weight loss surgery?
Oh
I
yeah.
think the like if there's certain things that happen to your body or what they've removed, it maybe that's why someone might have ate spinach and the oxalates affected them differently.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Or if
Yeah.
you were eating, if you eat 30 pounds of anything a day, it's not
Right.
going to be good for you,
Right.
in my opinion. So
Exactly.
like, but again, to your point, they take little snippets and not the full story and try to scare people out of, because the dairy and meat industry is
Oh
a
yeah.
little bit nervous because there's more people like yourself out there educating the public on how to really stay healthy, and they
Mm-hmm.
pay doctors, which you mentioned earlier, to take these isolated nutrients or anti-nutrient or whatever you want to call it and put something out that's not even true, but it's to cause that fear factor in the things that are good for you. And because there's a lot of money involved in,
Oh yeah.
no one is making a lot of money, like that type of industry money. There's not a national
Exactly.
fruit um
Exactly.
board, like,
Yeah.
so I love it. You just have
It's
to
people like.
flood the internet with the right information, right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, so potatoes, right? Like such a demonized food, but potatoes are actually high in fiber, potassium, vitamin C, and polyphenols. But but don't cover them with the junk. Don't cover them with the bacon and the cheese and the sour cream. And they're actually super satiating, meaning they fill you up really well. So again, some people are raw, some people don't like potatoes. I'm just saying they're nowhere near as bad as cheese and meat and all the things that people compare. So
Yeah,
soy.
when I was eating whole food plant based, I got to a point where I could just take a bite out of a potato without
Oh
a bunch
yeah,
of stuff on it. And it really tasted good. I mean,
nice.
like sometimes I might have needed some type of spice, on like a regular white potato, but it's totally different. And you also, like, Jason could show you how to make a cheese sauce probably for your
Well, that's what
potato.
I'm
How
saying.
did that?
I make the Buddha bowls, and you get when you mix the potato and the pickled onions and the green, the kale, the apple, cucumber, sauerkraut, um, millet or rice, and you mix it all together. It's delicious. And then like yeah, you don't need all that.
You would have been proud of my plate last night.
Nice, nice. So soy is another big controversial one. Really quickly, there's two types of estrogen because everybody's like, oh, they even have a word called soy boy for men who eat soy, and they say it lowers your testosterone because it has estrogen. So it turns out we have two estrogen receptors, alpha and beta. So soy binds to the beta, and beta actually regulates our estrogen levels. It has the exact, again, Dr. Lou, I talked to her. Sometimes it's just like you go. I was one of these anti-soy people for like 10 years, preaching no soy, no soy. And it takes one simple conversation with an intelligent person like Dr. Lou just to make me see reality. She's like, I'm from China. We've been drinking soy milk for over 2,000 years. And the women, we have low breast cancer, and the men don't have breasts. Because that's what they say. If you drink soy, you're going to get breasts as a man. And it just sounds sensational. So everybody says that. But it turns out soy improves bone growth, protects us against cancer. It's a great protein. The problem with soy is soy, corn, and wheat are the most sprayed by glyphosate. So a lot of the problems you're seeing with soy are not from the soy, they're from the spray that goes on the soy. So it's very important to get the most organic. Soy products especially. And it's funny because animal milk actually has estrogen. So the very thing, again, they blame on the soy. They say soy raises your estrogen. No, soy actually lowers your estrogen, but milk raises your estrogen. So again, they're like, don't eat soy, drink milk, eat butter. It's exactly the opposite.
Could you just really quick, I know we got to rush through, but could you tell us, like when you said that about organic soy, if we can't find organic fruits and vegetables, for example, is it like, do you say to people try to find organic when you can for most things?
Yes. In this day and age,
but it's still good to eat them.
It's still good to eat it. It's still good to eat it. Yeah, because yeah. But definitely, I would go out of your way to get organic. And again, if you have a Whole Foods near you or any decent supermarket, like the in-season vegetables, and if you get them in their whole food form, they're not going to be expensive. If you start getting processed foods and like exotic fruits, yeah, you're going to spend more money. But if you just go for the apples and the oranges and the blueberries when they're in season, and frozen fruits, always get the organic. We're just living in
okay then.
Yeah, frozen is okay. We're just living in a world, and sadly, where we're just spraying things like crazy. So we're talking about the environmental harm. So 1/3 of our arable land is used for livestock, which is horrible. Like most of what we're growing food for is just to feed to animals. It's such an inefficient, wasteful process. Plus, like I said, all these toxins are accumulating in the animal, so it's the worst food. And then think about it. We raise 50 billion chickens a year just to kill them. Pigs, billion pigs a year, and then hundreds of millions of cows every single year. Just think of how hard. Who gave us the right to just do that? I mean, it's crazy.
And to breed them, not. And some people say, well, what if there would be too many of them? No, because you're breeding them too. Of course, if you bred them and then everybody stops eating meat, well, yeah, you're going to have some extra animals. But of course, that doesn't happen because you can't even keep up with breeding them, and those methods are terrible, and it's just a whole thing. So I get it, but again, I did not know this, so I'm not nowhere near judging anyone. I just kind of am talking to myself when I say those things. Like, so,
it's frustrating. Once you see it, it's like, yeah.
Yeah,
and then the ocean, 2 trillion pounds. This is estimates, who knows? 2 trillion pounds. Think how crazy that is. Of fish every year. I heard out of every fish you eat, 10 fish have to die because they just have these huge nets and they just kill 1 out of 10 fish. So we've already fished out 50.
Psychologically, why I get that question too, like you mentioned, why do people not think of fish as an animal because it's in the water, or what do you think? I'm from Maryland, so that's a tough sell to tell people to stop eating seafood. You figure that way out.
I don't get it. I don't know. Like it's like people don't think meat is animal. They just like. And all the pesticides, think about it. Everything, the ocean is like the sewer. Everything drains into the ocean. So right now, you are crazy to eat fish because it is so full of heavy metals. Sadly, we're just polluting so much. So, and in the air, we're creating dead zones, ammonia, all the byproducts of animal. If you ever been near a pig farm, it's the worst smell you could imagine. So, and then people always think, well, I just eat eggs. Eggs are cruelty-free food. I bought 5 chickens, and then those 5 chickens make me eggs. And the question is, well, what happened? So nature, for every chicken, every female, you pretty much get a male, right? If you have that's how nature works. Like we pretty much have all the animals, humans. There's There's, I think, 51% of the population is women, 49 is men. But nature basically balances it out. We make men and women, right? But you bought those 4 chickens. What happened to the male chickens? They had to kill them at birth. The same thing with baby cows. So it takes a lot of grass and work and space and water to feed a bull, a male bull. On a dairy farm, there's no benefit of having a male bull, so they kill it and they call it veal or animal or dog food. That's what happens to all the males who are born on a dairy farm, and all the chickens who are born, all the male chickens, they don't lay eggs. They kill them at birth. So sadly, people think I'm a vegetarian. I eat eggs and cheese and dairy, but I don't eat meat. Guess what? You're actually worse. Better off eating the meat, because
And honestly, that's a
you're
great
killing
point to
all of
make.
the baby males. You're killing all of the baby males when you get dairy, because they're not gonna. And I tell people, it's like, no, that can't be true. It's like, well, who is gonna feed a bull? You know what I mean? Like you need one bull, and they don't even breed.
They actually don't even use the bull anymore. That's what I was getting ready to say. I saw this terrible video of how they're actually impregnated, and the over milking that happens. They had, were bleeding, and it's terrible. Like, I went straight from, not even knowing, I didn't even catch the vegetarian in the middle, and like I probably could have at some point came to that conclusion, but it's like people are trying to do good, and it's a shame that they don't realize that. So that's a great point to bring up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, here's some takeaways. There's not a single nutrient our body needs that it cannot get directly from plants, make internally from plants, or is provided by microbes. Our taste buds will change in 14 days if we try a new diet. Our bodies will respond quickly to eating whole food, and we will feel the benefits, including rapid weight loss. Whole food plant-based food is 30% less expensive than animal products. There is no reason to enslave. There's no reason, except for your taste buds, to enslave, artificially inseminate, and kill animals for our health. Animal agriculture is the biggest threat to the Earth's environment, and opening our hearts to all life increases our capacity to love. And I leave with one serious question. If there was a way to heal your gut, increase the years of your life and also the life in your years, significantly reduce your risks of the major diseases, cardiovascular, diabetes, dementia, and cancer, enjoy the most delicious flavor with new taste buds, cause less harm to innocent animals, and the earth, lose fat, save money, feel better, look better, and raise your energetic vibration, would you do it? And the bigger question is, why wouldn't you do it?
And then another question is, how do you do it? And boom, I knew it was coming.
Yes. So I offer group programs, as I mentioned, individual coaching. I can train you to become a professional whole food plant-based chef if you want to do it as a career. It's a very great career if you want to learn cooking. I do events and retreat catering. I consult with restaurants if they want to. I went to a restaurant, this expensive place, with my sister was in town with my nephew, and they wanted to go to this restaurant. It was on the water. I swear to you, there was not one thing on the menu that was plant-based. Not one thing. And I asked them if they could make it, and they said no.
Wow.
I mean, I was shocked, because you go to McDonald's, you could find something based. And they were so unaccommodating. And I was just shocked. I'm just thinking, wow, if I can go to restaurants, I mean, think how much business they're losing, because, I'm in Florida, people come visit their grandparents, a lot of kids are vegan now, so they can't go to that restaurant. If they just had a little menu, and we have a plant-based section, so I want to teach restaurants to do that.
That's great.
And then I'm also going to have a monthly subscription coming soon, where I'm going to feature other plant-based chefs. So you're going to pay a monthly subscription, like $12. And then not only you're going to have people like Dr. Lou, it's not just going to be about food. It's going to be about many different health and optimization, some yoga, and you'll be able to just get different recipes from different chefs as well.
That is amazing. Could you tell us what your channel again is called?
Oh yeah, I'll get to that in 1 second. I just wanted to.
Okay, I just wanted. I see you have another slide. I thought it was the end. I was like, wait,
No,
we didn't tell them how to get to you.
Yeah, 2 more, and the last one is that. Yeah, so I can easily show you everything you need to buy the best ingredients and equipment at the best prices, achieve the best health of your life, learn traditional food techniques on the verge of extinction, expand your palate, flavors you've never dreamed of, prepare countless varieties of healthy dishes and desserts, and prepare a whole week's worth of food in 2 hours. And then finally, you could add me on YouTube at Optimize Health. I think it's actually Optimize Health Collective. I'm sorry. I got to fix that. Instagram is Optimize Health Collective. Facebook, Jason Demchuk. I think the best thing for people to reach me if they're interested is just go to this link. And I think you're going to put the link in there, right? OptimizeHealthCollective.com/food. And if you click on that, you'll watch a 3-minute video, and there'll be a connect. There'll be a connect button. Just click the connect button. It goes happy to talk to you more.
Was it OptimizeHealthCollective.com?
Yeah, food is a good link to go see about my working with me.
Okay, I'll post it in the comments. Maybe it'll
Beautiful.
come up like a link. If not, it's going to be in the description too.
There we go.
Well, that was awesome. Thank you so much. I mean, that
was a long time.
Amazing information. It was definitely well worth it. I'm glad we had the time, and there was, both of us had the afternoon open, because there was you couldn't really rush that, and I know I cut in and asked a few questions. However, I'm, when I have all this knowledge in front of me, it's like I can't help myself. I love learning about.
It's great. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I gave this talk, and I had to rush it into an hour. Actually, went over. They kicked me out of the room, and actually, when I do this talk live, I actually I have all the food, potatoes, the sweet potatoes, the dressing, the sauerkraut, and I put it into the bowl, like you saw in that picture of me holding the bowl, my famous bowl, in there, and then everybody gets to try it. But this is sort of nice. Instead of all these people who are because got these people, they want to argue about the cholesterol or something, and blah blah. But this is thing. I get to talk to someone who's. I'm just hoping to enrich, make you guys feel, and have some. When people argue with you, you can use what I just talked about as some evidence to back up what you're talking about, and yeah.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everyone. Philip, I'm going to put his comment up because that was amazing. You might have seen it. Let me get Philip here. He also is really great at plant-based cooking. Let's see here if I can find it. It's a little bit up here. He said some great things about what the whole food plant-based diet did for him, and I can't find it here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there it is. I lost it once. Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
I want to talk to me. Maybe I could interview you for my show. I love to get stories like that.
Definitely. I know I've already been bugging him too for a while. He's going to let me know a date soon. And Jason, now look, you're in demand. Okay. You gotta do your rounds and tell everybody this story. Let's see who else we had. This is great information about oxalates. Muriel said, yes, I was really enjoying that. And Philip was just saying thank you both for a fantastic presentation. Thank you for coming, and thank you, Marakita, for your questions and being here. Dawn, I know I didn't get a chance to say hi from J&J Video. The awesome Dawn co-host, she's doing her own live over there on American Dream Trading. And Linda, thank you so much for being here. Miguel was here. Roxanne, I can't see who was actually on your channel if because I couldn't see both of them, so I apologize if we missed anyone over on Jason's channel. I think he's multi-streaming it. We really
I'm really curious actually stream because I filled it out like when I'm wondering
I was on yours at first. I was mistakenly looking at your comments first, and then I saw
really
people watching on my phone, and I'm like, what is happening here? How's there 8 people watching and no one commented? Oh, Michelle, thank you for coming. Thank you, Michelle Dupuis. She is awesome. Her and Muriel are actually mother and daughter plant-based raw team. That is awesome. Linda said thank you. Thank you,
yeah,
Linda.
follow me on YouTube. I have Jeff on. Jeff do shows on YouTube, and would love you guys to come and comment stuff.
Definitely go check out his channels. Click on that website and reach out to him. He is such a great teacher. You've got the classes coming up and the group coaching, like whatever you need, he can help you with. You're looking to cook.
I'm planning to do a. Sorry, I should have mentioned this or showed it. I'm planning to start a group around April 10th. So if anyone wants to do the 8-week and learn all these foods, including fermentation, dressing, how to make perfect potatoes and beans, about April 10th-ish.
Okay, April 10th. I'll put that in here. April 10th. I think you'll
yeah, I hope you join too. Actually, we'll talk about that.
Okay. And that was optimizehealth.health/food, right? Is how they can get to you.
Optimize Health Collective. That'll right to me.
Awesome. That is amazing. Is there anything you want to say in closing before I ramble on a few more seconds?
No, just thank you so much for this, and I love what you're doing. I love stuff on Facebook. I love seeing it's super exciting, beautiful community. That's I guess the last thing all the benefits we mentioned. It's like one of the other benefits is just this community is so cool. So I think most people have the impression like, oh, vegans are so annoying, but no, I found the opposite. It's like ourselves, we care about the planet, we care about the animals, and we're just passionate, and we're patient. We're patient with the people who don't get it yet.
Definitely.
So
and that's all what this is about. The channel is named Veganowlrdge because without the knowledge, we don't know what's happening. So I appreciate you taking all the time you did to come here. And thank you for everything you do and all the work you put in. You can tell you're very passionate. So everyone, please reach out to him. And thank you, everyone here. Please subscribe to this channel and, check out the people in the chat. They also have awesome channels of their own. And Jason, please go to his links and connect with him. He is amazing. They're all in the description. And Jason, thank you again for being on here. I really appreciate you. And thank you everyone for watching too.
Another presentation.
Oh, that would be awesome. Let's do it. We'll get together and talk about it. All right. I will see everyone soon. Thank you. I appreciate you all so much. Thanks for watching. Thank you.